Today, I stand before you as your president, filled with pride as I inaugurate the John Palmer Gafuli Bridge. This bridge is a testament to Tanzania's own resolve, a promise crafted entirely by our hands, for our people, without a shred of debt or a single day of delay. Almost overnight, an extraordinary new bridge has appeared, stretching boldly across Lake Victoria in Tanzania. Its length is striking. It spans 3.2 kilometers from start to finish. What is even more remarkable, Tanzania financed every part of this project independently. There was no outside funding, no loans, and not a single request for donations. Now, this bridge claims the title as the longest in all of East and Central Africa. People everywhere started asking questions. How did Tanzania accomplish this feat on its own? Why was this the chosen moment? What transformations will this bridge bring for Africa? We are about to explore the answers, step by step, unwrapping the full story behind this marvel.
No one anticipated such an ambitious project. No one imagined the bridge would turn out so immense. No one believed it would be completed with such speed. Yet, on June 19th, 2025, as dawn broke over Lake Victoria, thousands of Tanzanians gathered at the shoreline, standing shoulder to shoulder. They gazed across the water, sensing something incredible in the air. From the mist, the bridge slowly emerged, a colossal backbone of steel and concrete stretching across the lake. There were no fireworks. The bridge itself was celebration enough. Its presence stirred a thrill louder than any celebration. Children scrambled onto rooftops for a better view. Market vendors abandoned their stalls. Even local fishermen, some of whom had never ventured beyond their villages, watched in awe as the very first vehicles began to cross. Traditionally, major projects like highways and bridges tend to take years to finish in Tanzania. Dreams linger, but progress is often slow. This time, everything felt different. It was as if time itself had accelerated, bending in Tanzania's favor. Once, the John Palmer Gafuli Bridge existed only as a blueprint tucked away in planning files. Now, it stands firm and real, available for everyone to use. Its size is impressive. Indeed, at 3.2 kilometers, it is unmatched across Eastern and Central Africa. Yet what made this event extraordinary was not just its scale, but the sweeping change it brought. Previously, nothing but water separated the two shores. Crossing meant relying on ferries, slow, unpredictable, and often leaving people waiting for hours. Sometimes the lake was tranquil, other times unruly. The bridge changed everything. Where once people lost hours adrift, now they simply drive across in minutes. They can roll down their windows, play their favorite songs, and leave old troubles behind. News crews raced to capture the story. Television cameras, journalists, and photographers converged. Even seasoned reporters could barely believe their eyes. Some called it African engineering at its finest. Others wondered aloud if it had all been orchestrated in secret. A foreign reporter remarked, "I thought projects of this scale only happen in places like Asia or Europe. Not here, not now." Yet here it stood, not in the bustling cities of Dar es Salaam or Arusha, but in the lake region, a place often overlooked, now cast into the nation's spotlight. On the day of the grand opening, crowds flocked to witness history. Thousands gathered at the water's edge, with the early morning mist still lingering above the lake. The bridge stood tall and imposing, a testament to strength and resilience. Everywhere, people brimmed with delight. Children perched atop rooftops waved excitedly. Merchants, momentarily forgetting their goods, joined in the excitement. Fishermen, who usually spent their days bobbing gently on the lake, stood motionless, eyes fixed on the scene. Vehicles slowly began their journey across the span. It was a moment that filled the nation with a deep sense of pride. There were no extravagant displays, no bursts of fireworks or booming music. None were necessary. The sheer magnitude and bold silhouette of the bridge spoke for itself,
awe-inspiring to all who witnessed it. It stretched over the water, reminiscent of the arched back of a gigantic beast. In a land where the appearance of new highways and bridges is both infrequent and subject to lengthy delays, this felt like a tremendous stride into tomorrow. There was a sense that the country was racing forward into a new era. The name John Palmer Gafuli Bridge quickly became a household phrase. Everyone had something to say about it. Crossing Lake Victoria had long been a headache. Ferries were the only option. They were slow, required waiting, and could break down, turning a routine crossing into an ordeal lasting hours or even an entire day. With the new bridge, cars and trucks zipped across within minutes. It was a total transformation. Drivers now travel with the breeze in their faces and music playing, watching old habits slip into the past. The media buzzed with activity. Seasoned reporters scrambled to capture every detail. Some called it a shining example of African engineering prowess. Others viewed it as an unexpected spectacle, arriving without warning. International journalists expressed disbelief, suggesting such structures belonged elsewhere. Yet here it stood, not in the nation's capital, but in the lake region, a powerful symbol. Suddenly, previously overlooked communities were thrust into the spotlight. The bridge carries the name of John Palmer Gafuli, who served as Tanzania's president before the current administration. Though he has passed away, his vision endures. Attaching his name to the bridge is more than a label. It is an act of remembrance. It honors his legacy with all its ambition, controversy, and force of will. For some, his name evokes memories of a leader fueled by energy and resolve. For others, it is proof that leaders leave behind legacies, enduring symbols like this steel and concrete crossing. Naming the bridge after Magufuli sends a message: this is not an isolated achievement, but a piece of a greater mission. It is the continuation of what was begun, a chapter once left unfinished, now completed. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the nation's current head, walked the length of the bridge at its inauguration. She did not deliver grand speeches or make sweeping promises. She did not need to. The bridge itself was a miracle realized. She simply announced its official opening. The crowd erupted in genuine, heartfelt celebration, a roar born of witnessing their homeland accomplish something extraordinary. Yet, amid the joy and snapshots, a single question lingered. Where had the funding come from? There were no donor logos, no banners expressing gratitude to foreign nations, no international flags waving. The absence of customary signs of outside support piqued curiosity, not only in Tanzania, but across Africa. If Tanzania had managed to construct such an immense project independently, without loans or aid, it meant the bridge was more than a physical structure. It was a statement against the old order. Behind the scenes, regional analysts turned their attention not only to construction methods, but to the financial story as well. Completing a project with a price tag of $300 million without resorting to loans was unheard of for a developing nation. It was a rarity, an unexpected turn. Conventional wisdom held that Africa needed to borrow to build anything of real size. This bridge stood as proof to the contrary. Africa could forge ahead, relying on its own strength, without constant dependence on external stability. In truth, Tanzania had taken a daring step. The government revised its approach to finances, carving out room within the country's budget to make this colossal project a reality. They did not wait for anyone's approval. Over the course of several years, quietly and steadily, the government gathered funds from inside the country, revenue from gold sales, profits from agriculture, and collections from taxes such as the value-added tax. All of this money was placed into a dedicated account meant for construction projects. There were no grand announcements, no public appeals to international donors, just paperwork, patience, and persistence. According to some parliamentary records from the period between 2020 and 2023, which were eventually leaked, their strategy became clear. They temporarily halted the purchase of certain expensive imports. They reduced some subsidies that supported the population. Other less critical construction projects were paused. They even slowed down the expansion of government jobs. These measures were never meant to last forever,
only until the bridge took precedence above all else. The logic was straightforward. Invest a significant sum once, invest it wisely, and keep full ownership.
President Samir Suluhu Hassan did not speak of this sort of economic assertiveness during her campaign. Yet, after she succeeded Magufuli, she recognized the anxiety about debt that weighed on so many African nations. She chose a different path. Rather than asking, "What can we do if others help us?" she asked instead, "What must we alter to accomplish more ourselves?" This was a radical shift.
What makes this approach even more daring is that it was not simply about refusing loans. It was about rejecting the strings that are always attached. In most large-scale African projects, foreign financiers dictate the rules. They decide on the timeline, oversee the work with their own experts, hire their own workers, and insist that private companies get a piece of the project. Tanzania declined all of this. They constructed the bridge with their own financing and on their own terms.
The Magufuli Bridge now stands as a barrier against financial uncertainty. It shields the nation from endless negotiations with creditors. It sidesteps the restrictive conditions that come with borrowing. It avoids advice that is really just outside control and guards against fluctuations in currency or foreign politics. This form of power is not flashy, but it may be the most formidable part of the entire endeavor.
You often learn the most about a country by watching how its people travel. For many years in Tanzania, crossing Lake Victoria was a lesson in endurance. It was not just about inconvenience. It was about the need for patience. The ferry journey from Kigongo to Busesi typically lasted more than 1 hour, factoring in boarding, delays, mechanical problems, and the lake's unpredictable moods. Sometimes the wait was so drawn out that passengers could nap, buy a full meal, and recharge their phones completely before even setting foot on the ferry. Then the bridge arrived, and time itself seemed to transform. Now, vehicles that once queued for endless hours cross the water in a mere 4 minutes. Just 4 minutes. The difference is so extraordinary that some locals compare it to teleporting across the lake. Drivers still glance at their watches when they reach the shore, not because they must, but out of habit from the old ferry days. It is a reminder that, for so long, time dictated their lives. They could not control it. Now, they hold the reins. The ripple effects are spreading swiftly. In those few minutes saved, entire routines are evolving. Truck drivers transporting fish, cotton, and grain from the lakeside to the bustling city of Dar es Salaam now save almost an entire day of travel. Roads are straighter and journeys are swifter. For perishable goods like fresh produce, this marks the difference between being ready for market and being discarded. For traders, it means turning a profit instead of suffering a loss. For businesses relying on punctual deliveries, especially in agriculture and fishing, the bridge is more than a shortcut. It is a complete transformation of the supply chain. One driver, who transports Nile perch from Mwanza to Rwandan markets, shared his experience. He explained that now he arrives without needing to add ice to the fish a second time. That seemingly small change saves him a notable amount in costs. Imagine hundreds of trucks making these deliveries each week. The collective impact is a significant boost in efficiency. This improvement does not stop at national borders. It extends further. Yet, the change is not limited to freight alone. It is a transformation for people as well. Children who once had to wake as early as 4 o'clock in the morning to catch a ferry for school can now enjoy more rest. They reach their classrooms on time, no longer exhausted. Healthcare workers travel between communities freely, no longer bound by ferry timetables. Expectant mothers needing urgent medical care are no longer at the mercy of crossing water. Now a dependable road supports their journey. The river waits for no one, but the bridge stands ready at all times. What is truly remarkable is how predictable travel has become. In the past, this region was full of uncertainty. Whether it was traffic, commerce, or tourism, plans could be disrupted without warning. The bridge reintroduces a crucial element, dependability. When people can count on schedules, they can organize their lives. With clarity comes greater aspirations. Knowing their arrival time, they dare to visit new destinations. Once, Kigongo, Busesi felt like distant neighbors. Now they are merging into a unified economic zone. Land values on both shores are rising swiftly. Fresh eateries and stores are appearing along the routes that connect to the bridge. New travel options are emerging, linking Tanzania more closely with nearby nations such as Uganda, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The bridge is not just for local convenience. It has become a corridor for the continent. Regional planners call it Africa's shortest long-distance trade route. A fitting phrase, since just 4 minutes on this road has advanced cross-border trade more than many years of negotiations ever could. The benefits extend far beyond the movement of trucks and tourists. The bridge is redrawing the invisible map of influence in Tanzania's logistics. Villages that once lay quiet along the lakeshore are transforming into busy transport centers. They now boast logistics hubs, storage facilities, and even small financial institutions. Areas that were once overlooked are bustling with travelers and, most importantly, generating income from this activity. If the bridge is a machine that moves things, its greatest cargo is neither vehicles nor goods. Instead, it delivers jobs and opportunities for people. That is the next chapter. If you enjoy these stories, remember to like the video, share it, and subscribe for more insights into Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let us continue the journey. Every bridge supports weight, but not all bridges carry hope and promise. The Magufuli Bridge is more than a passage for vehicles. It carries the community's dreams for tomorrow. This is evident in the new jobs, fresh enterprises, and local transformation it inspires. These positive shifts are spreading outward from both ends of the bridge. The earliest changes were modest. A roadside grill near the Kigongo side began offering grilled tilapia and corn to passing drivers. Soon after, a tire repair shop opened its doors, then another, and eventually 5 in total. Where there was once a dusty ferry stop, activity grew rapidly. Residents launched small ventures. These were not grand developments funded by outside investors, but quick, homegrown businesses started by Tanzanians. They seized the moment and their new location. However, the transformation did not begin with the bridge's opening. It started years earlier, during its construction. Over 1,500 Tanzanians found employment in the project. Many took on roles typically reserved for foreign specialists, land surveyors, welders, structural analysts, and drone operators. Chinese firms led construction, but with strict requirements. They had to train local workers, transfer skills, and leave a legacy greater than the bridge itself. And in doing so, they succeeded. For the very first time, engineers from Tanzania were not merely observing from the sidelines. They were at the forefront, directing significant portions of the project. Their voices were present in the rooms where critical decisions unfolded. They handled the measurements, performed the calculations, and managed the technical challenges. This experience ignited a newfound self-assurance within them. Now, those who gained skills on this bridge have become highly sought after for other major undertakings across the nation, endeavors such as new highways, stadiums, and energy facilities. The bridge ended up doing much more than simply joining 2 stretches of land. It served as a gateway, linking an entire generation to broader horizons and improved prospects. When the construction teams packed up and moved forward, the momentum in the local economy did not dwindle. Instead, it accelerated. The time it takes to traverse the lake has been reduced to mere minutes. Along the new corridor, small-scale traders and service providers are establishing themselves. Markets have sprung up almost overnight, offering fresh produce, electronics like mobile phones, fashionable clothing, and building materials. Every single hour that the bridge remains open, it injects financial vitality into communities that were once isolated by distance. One of the most unexpected benefits has been the transformation in tourism. Previously, the lake region was largely inaccessible for most travelers and was not considered a primary destination. Now, it has become an easy detour for anyone journeying to places such as Serengeti National Park, Rubondo Island, or other locations around Lake Victoria. Domestic tourists, who were often left out of development plans, are now discovering more of their homeland. For families with average budgets, weekend getaways that once seemed daunting have become straightforward. They need nothing but fuel in the tank and a spirit for exploration. Lodges are expanding to accommodate the surge, guest houses are booked solid, and tour companies are building new itineraries centered around the bridge. The structure is viewed not just as a thoroughfare, but as a destination in itself. Some operators offer early morning drives across the bridge, complete with breakfast baskets and stops for photographs by the water. Bus routes have shifted to take advantage of this new crossing. Freight companies have established offices nearby. Land sellers report that property prices in the vicinity have tripled in just half a year. The bridge acts as a powerful engine, propelling everything in its vicinity forward and upward. Beyond the influx of jobs and revenue, the bridge carries a weightier significance. It is a statement in concrete and steel. The bridge is functioning superbly, but it also speaks volumes. It demonstrates what Africa is capable of building on its own terms, without waiting for outside approval. It is a narrative about the legacies leaders leave behind, about autonomy, rewriting expectations, and daring to dream bigger. There is a certain discomfort that arises when a project achieves remarkable success, not due to failure, but because it reveals how long people have settled for less. This is the legacy of the Magufuli Bridge, not only for Tanzania, but as inspiration for every African nation still waiting on donor approval before pursuing their ambitions. When the dust of construction settled and the local economy began to flourish, something unusual occurred. The customary acknowledgments from major Western institutions were conspicuously absent. There was no congratulatory statement from the International Monetary Fund, no ceremonial visit from the World Bank, just a profound silence, because this bridge tells a story those organizations are reluctant to acknowledge. It is a story of Africa thriving on its own, without their supervision or assistance. The choice to name the bridge after John Palmer Magufuli was no accident. He was a leader who inspired affection and, for some, apprehension. He firmly believed that Africans could create their own infrastructure, finance their own futures, and speak in their own voice. Naming the bridge in his honor was more than a formality. It was a declaration. It reaffirmed a commitment to self-reliance, embedding that belief deep into the land itself. Moreover, the location of the bridge holds great significance. It was not erected in a capital city, surrounded by embassies and media attention. It stands in Mwanza and the Lake region, areas historically regarded as peripheral. This fundamentally shifts the geography of progress, redirecting influence away from metropolitan centers with a foreign gaze and empowering communities that leaders have too often overlooked. The Magufuli Bridge is a physical manifestation of spreading power, its message inscribed right into the earth. Yet the most powerful force the bridge has unleashed is fear. This fear does not haunt the citizens of Tanzania, but rather unsettles those who prefer nations like Tanzania to remain dependent. When a single country manages to accomplish such a monumental project using solely its own resources, it sparks inspiration across borders. Others begin to wonder if they too could follow that path. If more countries attempt it, the entire structure of aid, laden with strings and conditions, may start to unravel. Already, conversations are stirring in Zambia, where leaders are contemplating self-funded infrastructure. In Ghana, financial experts are carefully studying Tanzania's methods. In Senegal, university students are demanding answers. The question echoes everywhere. If Tanzania can achieve this, why not us? This bridge stands as a blueprint, not just for construction, but for courage. However, with courage comes the burden of responsibility. Now, Tanzania must prove that this approach is more than mere fortune. They must demonstrate that self-reliance can be sustained, that a bridge built by Tanzanians for Tanzanians can endure, thrive, and inspire others to follow suit. This achievement requires constant vigilance. Should it succeed, it must be protected from attempts to privatize it, from deceptive debts masquerading as friendship, and from advisors eager to reclaim quiet control.
Landmarks like these do more than kindle hope for the hopeful, they stir anxiety among the powerful. Still, what now spans Lake Victoria is much more than a metaphor. It is an idea that leaps beyond borders, a question forged in iron. It challenges every African nation that is told what it cannot afford, what it must delay, what it is unprepared to accomplish. The Magafuli Bridge does not wish for demise. It does not demand it. Instead, it dares you to reconsider. What if this is not an anomaly? What if this marks a new beginning? What if Africa's destiny is not defined by a signature on an external loan, but by a blueprint, a spade, and the refusal to accept outside limits? After all, if 4 minutes spent crossing a bridge can shift an entire mindset, what might 4 years of self-determination achieve? What happens if Africa stops seeking approval? What if self-reliance becomes the ordinary rather than the exception? We invite your thoughts below. What if this bridge is not merely a road, but a warning? Would you like more stories like this? Subscribe and turn on notifications. We deliver stories centered on Black culture, civilization, history, and the remarkable achievements of Black people. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next story.